The world's largest city has never held the title forever. 500 years ago, this historical dataset puts Beijing at the top. By 1900, London had taken over. Today, using a modern United Nations city measure, Jakarta is number 1. So how did urban power move across the planet? Not through one simple race. This is a story of governments, trade, industry, and one of humanity's biggest transformations, the rise of the megacity. First, one important note. For the early centuries, we are using historical population estimates. They are not modern censuses, and city boundaries changed constantly. For the modern era, we switched to a consistent United Nations city dataset. So this is not one perfectly continuous leaderboard, it is a set of carefully labeled snapshots, showing how the world's urban giants changed over time. In 1500, the leading city in this historical dataset is Beijing, with an estimated population of about 672,000. Second is Vijayanagar in southern India, at about 500,000. Cairo follows at about 400,000. This first map is already surprising. The biggest cities were spread across East Asia, South Asia, the Middle East, and North Africa. The center of urban scale was not concentrated in a single continent. Beijing's size reflected its role as a Ming imperial capital. The Ming court had moved its capital there earlier in the 15th century, making Beijing a central seat of political power. Vijayanagar tells us something else. It was the capital of a major South Indian empire, but the city later suffered catastrophic political defeat and destruction. A city's position at the top could be impressive, and still fragile. By 1600, Beijing is still first in this dataset, at about 706,000 people. But Istanbul is almost tied, at about 700,000. Istanbul's location helps explain why it remained so important for so long. It sits between the Balkans and Anatolia, between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean, and it served as a capital of both the Eastern Roman and Ottoman empires. Cities grow for many reasons, but political power, strategic geography, and connections to wider regions can all make a city far more than a dot on a map. In 1700, Istanbul leads this snapshot at about 700,000, but another city is very close behind, Edo, now Tokyo, with about 688,000. Edo's rise was dramatic. In 1603, Tokugawa Ieyasu established the shogunate there. Over the following century and a half, Edo became the political and cultural center of Japan. By the middle of the 18th century, Tokyo's own metropolitan history says Edo had grown beyond 1 million people. That is an important pattern in this whole story. When durable political institutions concentrate people, money, administration, and demand in one place, cities can grow to extraordinary scale. In 1800, Beijing returns to first place in this historical dataset, at about 1.1 million people. But London is now second, with about 861,000. London's growth did not come from one single cause. It was part of a changing British economy, expanding commerce and finance, major port activity, and the early stages of industrialization. The city was becoming deeply connected to systems that reached far beyond Britain itself, through ships, markets, finance, migration, and later railways. The map of the world's largest cities was beginning to shift again. Then comes 1900. London reaches about 6.5 million people in this historical dataset. New York follows at about 4.2 million. Paris, Berlin, and Chicago are all now counted in the millions too. The scale has changed completely. For centuries, the largest cities had been immense by the standards of their own time. But industrial-era urbanization created cities on another order of magnitude. Factories, ports, railways, trade, finance, and migration did not affect every place in the same way, but together, they created new possibilities and new pressures for urban life. Now we change data sets. From this point forward, Every comparison uses the same United Nations 2025 city methodology that gives us a consistent modern view from 1975 to 2025. The historical figures and the modern figures are shown separately because they define cities differently. Honesty about that difference is part of telling the story correctly. In 1975, Tokyo is the largest city in the Dataset, with 24.3 million people. Osaka is second at 14.4 million. New York City is third, followed by Jakarta and Mexico City. Tokyo's lead is enormous, but the rest of the list already hints at the next shift. The fastest growing giants are no longer concentrated in Europe and North America. By 2000, Tokyo is still first, now at 30.3 million. But Jakarta is second, Guangzhou is third, Seoul and Kolkata complete the top 5. The modern map is changing quickly. East and South Asia now dominate the upper ranks, while cities that once defined the industrial era are much farther down the list. And in 2025, Jakarta is first, 41.9 million people in the city estimate. Dhaka is second, with 36.6 million. Tokyo is third at 33.4 million. Then come New Delhi and Shanghai. The 5 largest cities are all in Asia. This does not mean every large city is growing in the same way or at the same speed, but it does show where today's greatest concentrations of urban population are found. So what moved the map? There is no single answer, but for lenses help make sense of it. First, political power. Imperial capitals such as Beijing, Istanbul, and Edo concentrated government, institutions, and resources. Second, connection. Ports, sea routes, and strategic geography linked cities to much wider worlds. Third, production and transport. The industrial era changed how goods, people, and information could move, and helped create cities of unprecedented scale. And fourth, modern urbanization. Today, the world's largest cities are concentrated in regions where huge populations, expanding urban areas, and economic opportunity meet. These forces did not work separately. They overlapped, reinforced one another, and produced very different outcomes in different places. The largest city in the world is not a permanent crown. It is a snapshot of where people, institutions, opportunity, and connection are concentrated at one moment in history. From Beijing and Vijayanagara, to Istanbul and Edo, to London and New York, and now Jakarta and Dhaka, the story of the world's largest cities is really the story of a changing world. Which city's rise surprised you most? Tell us in the comments, and subscribe to the Data Chronicle for more big questions explained through data.